Um, our next session is about a Russian OER. Our speakers, Marina Alexandrova from UT Austin and Maria Khotimsky from MIT and Irina Kogel from Davidson College. And the title of their session, their talk is Telebridges, a new OER for facilitating Russian language exchange. So I'll turn the mic over to you guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Carl. And I'm dropping the link to the resource into the chat right now. So please feel free to open and explore it. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm happy to introduce our presentation on behalf of Irina Kogel and Marina Alexandrova, who will speak today. We will talk about the development of the project. We will discuss the resource structure. We will show you the topics and the levels that we have developed and talk about future plans. So with that, I'll pass the baton to Marina.
Hello, and thank you so much for having us and for being here. We welcome any suggestions or ideas that you have about the resource. So the initial idea was actually inspired by our students and was inspired by our desire to empower students to become co-creators of their Russian as foreign language experience, to create opportunities outside classroom, and to increase accessibility and equity, because we wanted this resource to be open and accessible to all the students. So initially it was just a Google Doc, as Maria remembers, just with questions to facilitate, to help our students conduct language exchange conversations between Russian and American students. So we borrowed the name Telebasty or Telebridges as an example of cultural diplomacy. These were a series of events in the 80s that connected regular Russian people and American people as they tried to establish the cultural dialogue, so bypassing the governments and other official structures. So that was our inspiration behind the idea. So it was supposed to be, or it is, peer-to-peer conversations. And eventually from just one Google Doc, it developed into a whole website that we will show you today that is much more elaborate. And turning over to Maria.
Sure, yes. So as you know, the next slide shows you the responses from the students. So initially we had contacts with colleagues in Russia. We created the list of pair students, connected them via email, and kind of let them loose with a few question lists. And they really asked for more structure, more guidance, and they really inspired us to create a more structured resource. So we used the proficiency guidelines, both by ACTFL and by Russian as a foreign language education guidelines, and we worked on creating the topic lists and the vocabulary sets that are typically matched with these topics. We looked at also typical topics that are offered in many college curricula in the US, and as it turns out, the Novice Level is pretty much the same across 3, 4, or 5 textbooks commonly used by our colleagues. So we developed some vocabulary sets. For intermediate level, we developed dialogue tasks that are OPI based, and we're very much inspired by the OPI model. And we also sought to find authentic visuals. We partnered with a small photography studio in my hometown, Nizhny Novgorod. We thought it would be a wonderful way to support small businesses and artists back in Russia. This was all developed before the current moment. We used Google Sites as our platform because we had a very limited funding, and we went with open license, as you see. So each page, and you may open the resource on your computers, each page includes an introduction and the description of the level. What we try to do is we try to give our language partners a brief overview of the level. What do speakers at this, what are speakers at this level able to say, and what are their typical kind of ranges of expression? Then on each level, you will see topic tiles that will link you respectively to a list of words and tasks on the topic. So the novice level, as you see, the list on the right includes all the basic topics covered in the first year. And within the level, you will find first the topic description, then vocabulary cards, questions, and on the novice level, they are posted on Quizlet cards and also in the collapsible text, as well as some supplementary games that we have developed using WordWall, published in open access and embedded it into the website. So typical questions, again, follow closely our traditional curriculum, be talking about family, talking about favorites. And we were a little bit wary of technology, and also students reported that Quizlet sometimes is slow. So we pretty much doubled the questions on two-sided Quizlet cards and in the collapsible text below. On the intermediate level, the topics kind of make a loop back to the first year, but make it a little bit more difficult, a bit more complex and more interesting. So in addition to revisiting the basic topics, we also add more complex topics such as youth culture, internet and social media, traditions and superstitions. We continue to use authentic images, both that we partnered to develop with our colleagues in Russia, but also collections from family albums. You can see my nephew on the bottom right picture, and they give permission to use this picture. So on the main difference of the intermediate level is the inclusion of role play cards and slightly more elaborate tasks. So for example, in the topic on the internet usage, in addition to the questions, you will find a role play entitled Internet Нет, where a student has to navigate internet access that is not working in his or her host family's location. And then some additional tasks, games, and ideas, such as, for example, Google AI drawing game, which I highly recommend. You can use it with multiple languages, and students reported very much enjoying it. I'll let Marina take over for the advanced level.
Thank you so much. And as Maria has mentioned, that we designed these with OPI in mind. So for advanced level, we have incorporated the tasks that would allow them to demonstrate and to develop their argumentative skills when they have to talk about more elaborate topics, more controversial topics, take points of view and take analyze their arguments and construct their argument in a more informed way. So again, there is a certain alignment with the earlier topics like introductions and university life and holidays. But again, they feature more advanced vocabulary, and they well, hopefully the students will show greater awareness of more diverse grammar structures as well. One of the things, and I think we'll mention that at the end when we talk about future development, where we see this project going. So we'll talk about other topics. Here, as you can see, we talk about, or we introduce discussion of complex topics, use of authentic materials. So we have many links to the articles that are very recent. Within the last 5 years. So social issues is one of those topics that we developed as a kind of a demand is developing for discussion of various political issues as well, and I will address that at the end. There are lots of different discussion questions and links to additional readings, and I think what also is kind of special about this resource is that we give links to a lot of YouTube videos, and it's both a challenge because we need to make sure that all of the links are current and not dead, but also allows us to introduce authentic material to our students. And I mean, they can take it from there. We usually give them more materials than they would be able to cover in an hour, so that they can pick and choose and really take control of their process. This is just one of the ideas of in the fitness module. We introduced the dacha fitness that would create a segue into the discussion of this very important part of Russian culture and life, which is a country house where people usually grow vegetables and go and relax. So here you can go over the anatomic parts. So talking about body parts, but also imperatives, because it tells you exactly what to do, how to perform all those tasks with your fitness in mind. For going forward, so different, well, as the situation in Russia is developing, I think Maria and I are discussing how we can also respond to those newer demands that are emerging. But we definitely want to develop more topics and tasks. And initially we talked about introducing a special block kind of on protests and on war, but then we decided to not introduce that, as keeping it light. But then now that we're just returning to this discussion, we're definitely going to introduce a module that will cover war-related vocabulary or military vocabulary. So that's in the works. So as Maria has said, that will reflect on contemporary political situation. Another desire that we share is to bring it into alignment with official Turkey, right, proficiency levels, or RFL. So because, well, we also thought about that during the peaceful times, when by passing the exam, official exam, you could be employed in Russia. So I'm not sure that this is relevant anymore, but that was one of the directions of our future development. And I don't know if Maria wants to address some other.
Yes, so I'll wrap up. Thank you so much, Marina, for this detailed overview. I want to wrap up by saying so far we have piloted with our students. We've shared it with our colleagues. We do not have any data for you, but we have received word of mouth feedback that this resource was very helpful because it becomes a very easy supplement to what you're currently teaching. You can give it for role play and pair work in class for students, assign it for practice homework, or for example, students who are even working with an outside tutor or a family member. For example, I have a student whose fiance's parents are Russian. He likes to practice with them, but they really needed this structure. He said this resource was invaluable because they're not language teachers, and using these targeted questions really maximized his personal practice with his family members. So I think we will wrap up here with a slight political statement that it's been a very difficult week for all of us. We firmly oppose the war, and we hope that this model of telebridges, of connections, is somehow continuing through our mindful teaching of language and culture. So I will stop share, and we have, I think, 4 minutes for questions. Yeah.
Oh, thank you both, Maria and Marina. And thank you for your personal remarks at the end. I think people, certainly in the foreign language community, can make a distinction between governments and peoples. So yes, we stand firmly with the Russian people who oppose the war. Yeah, so I see a couple of questions here, and let's get right to them. We just have a couple minutes. Annabelle asks, did you work with an illustrator?
I'll respond very quickly. I have a family of photographers who I know from my college years. We've all studied literature, but the economy in Russia is such that my friend and her husband now work as professional photographers. They have beautiful aesthetics. I followed their work for ages. So I basically partnered with them, and we purchased these images for non-commercial use. So they gave us a good discount. As you can imagine, the cost of purchasing images in Russia is much smaller than in the US. And then we just spent some time matching the backgrounds and organizing the topics. And we kind of built it around the images we purchased from them. And then we sought our personal images, both Marina and I kind of combed through our family photographs and found some images even from our own kitchen or dining room to show the foods or to show the children's activities. Yeah, so kind of a group effort, but no professional artists. It's kind of personal taste, I guess. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That makes it nicer that it's this, you have a personal link to so okay, I see William Comer mentions this would work well for tutoring sessions.
Yeah.
Have you used it in that way, or is it just used for in classroom?
Yes, William, thank you very much for asking. I've actually used it myself. So this year when we worked on in the classroom, but with masks, I did small tutoring sessions for our first year classroom, which I didn't teach in the classroom, but I tutored them on Zoom 15 minutes with each student very quickly. And we would literally pull up these questions and these cards and just go through them and use this as a guided practice resource. Yeah. And of course, we are happy to share it with a wider pedagogical community to be used for tutoring.
I used it in my classroom just to make it a little more engaging one day when we were all tired of just studying grammar. So
Yeah, I was thinking about how this could also work as a nice supplement to the existing programs, existing Russian textbooks.
Exactly. That was the kind of the guide, our guideline when we were selecting the topics. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of talks are doing that. Not everybody is trying to create a standalone entire curriculum. They're trying to create things that are nicely modular. And I think yours is a great example of that.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
thank you both so much. I really
The
appreciate
resource I mentioned, I'm dropping it in the chat. It's a multilingual AI drawing resource. Really fun to use it for a quick class activity in any language. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
thank you.